you got to wonder, and listen, it is that time of year for fantasy football. I've been observing, as you and Pete know, John, most of what I know about football I've learned from my daughter, and watching her and her friends get their fantasy football cards or whatever the process is in order has been quite the thing to observe. So, I think that could very well be happening when they're all are they still huddled around the monitor, or they don't do that anymore?
Only one of them goes in there now, but and he's talking to the big brain upstairs as well as watching it himself. So ultimately, he is watching for it, or she is watching for that replay to see whether or not the foot was out of bounds, inbounds, whether or not. But they don't look at things like excessive celebration, I don't think. But maybe someday, Mark. All right, let's take a little Pete's Red Zone Sports, and Mark and I are going to opine on a couple things here, folks. One of them being the Vikings. If it wasn't for bad luck, the Vikings would have no luck at all. Because, and this is not just them, this is human tragedy too, but they had a defensive back this year, Mark, that looked very promising, and the kid was hit in a car accident by a drunk driver, I believe, and killed, and two of his passengers also injured badly and or killed. That was a high round draft pick for the Vikes. So that's a shame, of course. And then you had J.J. McCarthy going out with a torn anterior cruciate or something like that. And now Lewis Sine, who had a disappointing run with the Vikings. This was like a first round safety out of Georgia. Everybody thought this kid was the new world beater, Mark. And then, unfortunately, fractured his leg and played just 10, count them, 10 defensive snaps in the past couple of years. So that is not a happy story for him or for the cornerback that they drafted this year. It's been a rough one. Maybe the Vikings have to stay the heck away from Alabama and Georgia defensive backs, Mark.
Yeah, it seems to be that the luck tends to be running in that direction. That may be why they're calling Pete so much these days, John. It could have something to do with it. And the last minute, and you gotta let me save 30 to 60 seconds at the end for some shameless plugs of what we have going on at Market Rebellion. But did I hear that another famous and well-known quarterback might have bought a racehorse? What's that about?
You might have heard that. It was indeed Travis Kelce. So tight end, as your daughter would tell you. Just as when I look at that thing, say the rapist instead of therapist.
Oh, Jesus.
When Mark looks at Travis Kelce,
I thought it was over. I thought it was over.
But see, that's why we got to have Pete on the show. Only one. It can't be both you and me. It's got to be you and Pete, or Pete and you. But it can't be that we don't have Pete. Otherwise, we really don't have a sports guy on the show. But so Travis Kelce, he bought a racehorse, and it's got a Taylor Swift themed name. Now, he didn't rename it or anything. I don't know if it's as bad as boats, Mark, but I'll let you tell us about how people should or should not rename boats. But this particular horse, I'll let you tell us what the horse's name is and why you don't rename boats.
Well, so the horse's name, of course, is Swift Delivery. And buying racehorses, unless you're as good as our friend Vinny Viola over at Virtue, that, of course, has had a couple of phenomenal horses that have won the Derby, and I think he had a Triple Crown winner as well. But we have another mutual friend, John, that was with us in Vegas a couple of weeks ago that was pretty heavy in that business for a number of years. He had 220 thoroughbreds at one point in time. And it's similar, to answer your question, it's similar to boats. You generally don't rename horses. It's considered bad luck. They're not as likely to sink as boats, but they are likely to have other potential devastating and career-ending problems with that name change. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't have any intel or trader talk on whether he bought the horse just because of the name or whether or not he or she is a contender. The horse, not Travis, of course. So this is a fun one to talk about, as the Swiftie mania seems to be somewhat unstoppable Well,
Yeah. Well,
that's
swift
John. I
delivery.
think that's it for us in Rebels Edge. That's certainly
It
it
is.
for Red Zone Sports. And before we go, as we always do when I'm on the show, as you know, folks, got to give you a couple of things to look out for, things to be aware of. Of course, John and I, 3:30 today on Newsmax for the first time as another major news network joins the Rebel Nation. Of course, we have, John, you can pull it back, propped back up again. We've got the book. You've seen the commercial. Movie is coming out next summer. I'm kidding. Well, maybe, who knows? But if you haven't bought it yet, go to itsnotanoption.com, reserve your copy. We'll send it to you absolutely free. We've got the Rebel Mastermind on October 11th. It's an unstoppable and not miss event, live trading all day long. We're going to be trading with real dollars in front of an audience of just 100 people. Tickets are flying off the shelves. You've probably seen our TV commercials for this that I launched on Monday of this week on Fox and CNBC. Very exciting. You can get your tickets by going to marketrebellion.com and a little pop-up banner at the bottom with that tile and some pictures of Pete and John, myself, and, of course, business partners, special guest, great friend Grant Cardone, General Tony Tata joining us, Lawrence McDonald, a host of others. We may have a major network TV star joining us as well, but
I was going to say, I'm not going to say who,
we
but
can't
I'm
say
saying
yet.
we're this close to being able to announce a major network star that will be joining us for several days.
He or she is waiting for final clearance from the network. So stay tuned. Follow everything we do at Market Rebellion. Check out the Rebel Setup. Check out the Rebel Roundup. Try to join us if you're a subscriber for Cocktail Hour. Next Friday, this Friday's Cocktail Hour is on hiatus because of the anticipated 3-day holiday weekend. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Check out Pete and John on the Rebel's Edge tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern.